Still brooding like a bad poet in a field of kale, I see, said a voice, young, booming, unmistakably cocky. Satya turned. There he was, in full celestial arrogance. Indra, king of the heavens, slayer of Vritra, lord of rain and raves. Shirt open, muscles gleaming, golden chains bouncing against a divine chest tattoo that probably read YOLO in ancient script. In one hand, a bejeweled goblet sloshing with some swirling ambrosia that looked suspiciously like mango lassi spiked with divinity. In the other, a burning spliff the size of a toddler. His eyes sparkled like lightning-held jokes. "Look at you," Indra said, grinning. "Mr. Sprouts and Shadows, you're starting to look like a sage." "Indra," Satya muttered, standing straighter. "I thought you were gone? Retired? Gave it all up to let the new gods usher in their kumbaya dictatorship?" Indra took a drag off the Indrachuta, exhaled golden smoke in the shape of a chariot, and grinned wider. "Yeah, I thought so too. He walked into the garden like he owned it. The dirt didn't stick to him. The bugs avoided him. Even the goats stared like they'd just seen a celebrity." Satya didn't speak. His hands were still clenched, all that old rage, all that hurt. Indra offered him the joint. Satya didn't take it. "You're angry," Indra said, more serious now. "You think I abandoned you." "You did," Satya said. "You let them write me off. You let the masters chain me to this form. You stood back when I lost everything." Indra's jaw tightened. He nodded slowly, then looked up at the clouds. "I did," he said, "because I thought that's what you wanted." Satya blinked. "You chose exile," Indra said. "I didn't force it on you. You wouldn't come home. You said you had to atone or some dramatic shit like that. I figured maybe I was part of what hurt you. Maybe space was what you needed." Satya looked away. The hoe fell to the ground. "I was proud of you," Indra added, voice quiet now. "Still am." That caught in Satya's chest like a knife made of light. "You killed their messiah," Indra said with a crooked smile. "And yeah, maybe you ruined the second coming, but you also saved this world from a tyranny of love and light. You gave humanity a chance to stay human." Satya met his gaze. "And you think that's good?" Indra shrugged. "Better than their plan. Look, brother, I was ready to hand the throne over. I was tired. The parties got dull, the hymns too scripted. I thought maybe it was time for peace. But peace turned out to be a prison made of smiles. Their world would have been quiet, safe, sterile, a yoga retreat with no exits." He took another drag. "But you," Indra said, pointing the joint at Satya, "you refused. Not out of pride, out of truth. You knew it was wrong. And you acted." Satya swallowed hard. "I thought you hated me." "I thought you hated me," Indra said. "Turns out we're both a couple of dramatic bastards." They laughed. It broke something. Silence again. Then the soft crunch of feet. Sarah had returned, barefoot, in the garden, arms full of incense and rice cakes, eyebrows raised at the celestial guest. Indra turned to her. "Ah, the firebomb herself," he said. "I see you've upgraded your knives since the last time we crossed blades." "Still got the one that took your ear," she said, flashing a grin. He bowed, regal. "A worthy wound." Then Indra stepped forward, took her hand gently, and placed it in Satya's. "You know what this is, don't you?" he said to Satya. "You've called it many things, lust, chaos, karma, a curse, but it's not a punishment." He looked at both of them. "This is your Shakti, your divine counterpart, not your weakness, your amplifier. You harmonize with her, you remember what you are." A shimmer passed over them. The air turned golden. Their bodies glowed just faintly at the edges, where his rage met her fire, where her chaos met his focus. Everything in the garden bowed slightly toward them. Not a breeze, not wind. Reverence. "You two are the storm now," Indra said, stepping back, "and I'd rather have you free and furious than bound and tame. The new gods fear you because they don't understand love that fights. They only know love that obeys." Satya looked down at their hands, still joined. "Thank you," he said, "for not giving up on me." Indra winked. "You kidding? You're the most interesting thing to happen to the heavens in eons. Besides, I needed an excuse to leave court. You think I want to sit through another consciousness summit with Shiva? Guy hasn't blinked since the Kali Yuga." He turned, the garden sparkling with his steps. Thunder rumbled once in the distance, just enough to make the birds flinch. "Oh," he said, pausing mid-stride. "And if you ever want to come home, the throne's still open. I'm semi-retired, got a vineyard now, grows gold grapes, tastes like enlightenment." Then he was gone. The sky cleared, the birds sang. Sarah looked at Satya. "Your dad is insane." "He's not my dad," Satya muttered. She smirked. She smirked. "Could have fooled me. You've got the same smug forehead." They didn't kiss, they didn't speak, they just held hands in the garden while the sunflowers leaned in to listen. Cypress and grove. The goats were already loose. 3 of them, Hummus, Yermungandr, and Keha, had broken out of the makeshift pen behind Happy's booth and were now investigating a kombucha stand with the ferocity of tiny, chaotic gods. A toddler squealed with glee. Someone strummed a banjo in D minor, and someone else shouted something about egg karma. Happy ignored it all. He stood behind the folding table in a sun-bleached tank top that said, "Don't kale my vibe," stacking containers of sunflower sprouts with divine precision. His brow furrowed in concentration. His aura, if you believed in that sort of thing, hummed low and golden like a tuning fork made of soil and guilt. "Your display is crooked," said a familiar voice behind him. Sarah. She came dancing out of the sunlight like a barefoot storm, wearing one of those floaty, side-slit skirts that made gravity nervous, her black braid whipping like a ribbon in a knife fight. She held a mason jar of what looked like cucumber lime moonshine, and her eyes were wild. "You're late," he said without turning, "and I told you not to barter knives for booze." "I didn't," she said, sipping. "I bartered threats for booze. Totally different economy." She spun once, skirt flaring, and 2 crust-punk teens selling herbal smokes audibly gasped. The band struck up a fiddle-heavy rendition of "Man of Constant Sorrow," and someone in a peacock feather hat began freestyle tapping on a suitcase. Happy sighed. "Why do you love this place?" She took a swig, wiped her mouth with the back of her hand. "Because it's the only place in the state where you can get amaranth shoots, a tarot reading, and possibly laid without leaving the brewery parking lot." She twirled again, faster this time, then dropped to one knee, eyes flashing up at him. "And because you smile here," she added quietly. Happy didn't answer, but the corner of his mouth almost curved. Wendell Goat Daddy Ramey arrived carrying a bundle of beet greens and a story about a vision he had during a microdose gone wrong. He slapped Happy on the back, gave Sarah a double wink, and handed them both a paper bag full of what might have been legal mushrooms. "I saw a possum eat a chakra," he said solemnly, "and I think it was a sign." "Of what?" Sarah asked. "Of possums evolving." Then he was gone. Carmelita Karma Knox floated by next, wearing 3 pairs of sunglasses and a tie-dyed caftan that might have been a tent in a past life. "Your resonance is excellent today," she said, eyes lingering on Satya's bare arms. "You're really vibrating." Like. Messiah-adjacent Sarah leaned over the table. "Tell your live stream followers I charge extra if they try to film me dancing." Karma nodded, distractedly typing something into a phone that had at least 6 pop sockets. At some point, Blair and Ravi appeared with tiny sample cups of an aggressively fizzy brew called This Tastes Like Trauma. "It's got rose hips and guilt-infused lemon balm," Ravi said, offering Happy a cup. "We're trying to help people heal." Blair snorted. "We're trying to get people drunk without triggering the AA crowd." Sarah knocked back the shot, burped, and said, "You nailed it. I feel like my inner child just had a therapy breakthrough and then punched someone." Even Maggie, June, and Clay showed up, selling candles in jars shaped like various animal skulls. She grinned at Sarah, whispered something in Appalachian dialect that made the goats whimper, and handed Happy a beeswax brick that smelled like rosemary and premonition. Clay just stared, then nodded once, then vanished like fog. By mid-morning, the market was a tapestry of banjos, incense, spilled booch, and clashing belief systems. The crowd swirled in barefoot loops. Sarah had joined the hula hoopers near the pallet stage, her skirt catching light, eyes shut, body rolling to a fiddle solo like she was calling down weather. Happy wiped his hands on a burlap towel. For once, things were peaceful. Maybe too peaceful. He glanced at the tree line. Nothing. Just moss and heat haze. And yet, the back of his neck prickled. A faint vibration hummed through the soles of his feet. Not the music, not the crowd. Something else. He turned back to the booth, rearranged the sprouts, avoided his own reflection in the cooler glass. He didn't realize the music had slowed until he looked up. The jam band wasn't jamming anymore. They were watching something. Everyone was. A strange vehicle, white, silent, impossibly clean, glided down the brewery gravel path and rolled to a stop beside the mushroom tent. It was a tuk-tuk, but not just any tuk-tuk. This one was paneled in pearl-white ceramic with sun-glyph hubcaps and a Himalayan salt crystal bolted to the roof. Its wheels didn't touch the ground. And the man who stepped out wore linen and danger. He didn't walk, he arrived. Out of the shimmering ceramic tuk-tuk stepped a man wrapped in flowing off-white linen that looked like it had been blessed, steamed, and certified conflict-free by 7 different yoga lineages. Barefoot, glowing slightly, he carried no bag, no clipboard, no tech, but every step he took landed like a keynote speech at an esoteric tech retreat. Lighter-skinned brown, perfect beard, bindi like a Wi-Fi signal, mala beads strung with metallic sigils, a smile that said, "I know your soul contract," and a look that said, "I've already revised it." He raised one hand in a casual half mudra, half Instagram wave. "Blessings, beloveds," he said to the crowd. "What an authentic frequency you've got going here." A Hare Krishna dropped his samosa. Carmelita was already beelining toward him like a moth to a tantric TED Talk. "Oh my goddess," she breathed. "Are you an ascension agent?" The man beamed. "You may call me Pazuzu Patel, Integration Liaison, Tier 3, here to observe, perhaps harmonize, maybe uplift." Happy frowned. Sarah froze mid-spin. Ravi whispered, "Did he say Pazuzu?" Blair elbowed him. "That's the name of a demon." Pazuzu turned, smile laser-focused now, and walked directly toward the microgreens booth. Straight for Satya. "Ah," he said, stopping with perfect, polite distance. The living contradiction. The mythic interloper. Satyadharma himself. Happy stared, arms crossed. "Wrong booth," he said flatly. "Oh no," Pazuzu replied, hands open, tone calm. "I think I'm exactly where I need to be." Sarah stepped in from the side. Her eyes flicked over Pazuzu's beads, the tuk-tuk still humming with latent energy, the too quiet silence around him. "You smell like Enlightenment trademark," she muttered. "Organic, cold-pressed, ethically sourced," Pazuzu said, still smiling. "Don't worry, I'm not here for conflict. I'm here with an offer." Happy's eyes narrowed. "I don't buy anything I didn't bleed for." Pazuzu laughed gently. "Oh, no. I'm not selling. I'm offering. You've already earned it. You've evolved, Satyadharma. You've transcended pain, bypassed karma, destabilized 6 false paradigms." Sarah cut in. "He also weeded the chard beds this morning. Where's his badge?" Pazuzu regarded her with something like admiration or clinical detachment. "You must be Sarah," he said. "The catalyst. The unpredictability module. The reason the flame still dances." She cracked her knuckles. "Keep talking, linen boy." He turned back to Happy. "Our institution has reconsidered its position. Resistance is costly. Obsolescence, unwise. What we see in you is not a threat, it's potential." He held out a card. Not paper, not digital. Some shimmering mid-tech thing made of light and memory. It read, "Satyadharma, shepherd of sacred disruption. Reframe the rapture. Optimize the end, sponsored by the new Pantheon Collective." Happy didn't take it. Pazuzu continued, as if he had. "We're offering integration. Authority, not chains, platform. Imagine, your message, your mythos, global, streamed, marketed, transcendent. You'll be a sovereign narrative engine, sat at the apex of algorithmic dharma." "You're offering him branding?" Blair said from behind the booth. "Imagine being the savior without the crucifixion," Pazuzu said, voice smooth as resolution. "A second coming without the nails, all the reverence, none of the pain." Happy was silent. The crowd had stopped pretending not to listen. Even the goats had paused, Yermungander chewing a stick with philosophical suspicion. Sarah stepped closer, her voice low, coiled. "You're not here for peace." Pazuzu tilted his head. "Peace is a form of submission. But this is collaboration. You want to weaponize him. We want to honor him. House his archetype in a structure that will endure. His love, his pain, his potential, rendered legible, live-streamed, harmonized." Sarah's eyes flashed ember-hot. "You want to turn him into a story people can scroll past." Pazuzu didn't blink. "And you," he said, voice sharp now, "are the reason he keeps burning instead of ascending?" Sarah smiled slowly. "Good," she said. "Burning's more fun." The card in Pazuzu's hand glowed. He dropped it. It hovered in the air, spinning like a halo. "Don't decide now," he said, stepping back. "We'll give you space. Time, no pressure." Then, with a wink toward Satya, "Just remember, martyrdom is outdated. Monetized transcendence is the future." He turned and walked back toward the tuk-tuk. Ravi whispered, "What the fuck just happened?" Blair replied, "The devil got a UX degree." The tuk-tuk lifted silently into the air, turned once over the brewery, and vanished in a soft pop of citrus-scented light. The music resumed, slowly, as if unsure whether it was allowed. Happy exhaled. Sarah picked up the card from midair. It turned to ash in her hand. She didn't flinch. The card may have turned to ash, but the echo of its voice hadn't left. Happy stood behind the table, arms loose, jaw tight, staring through the sprouts like they might sprout answers. Sarah sat on the cooler now, legs swinging, watching him like a hawk with a tarot deck. The air buzzed, not with sound, but with potential. "Talk to me," she said. He didn't. Instead, he opened the cooler. Just a box of sunflower greens, some pea shoots, a plastic tub of something dark. And then, beneath it, at the very bottom, tucked beneath the beet micro mix, something else. Wrapped in silk. He didn't remember packing it. He reached in, slowly, like it might bite. Unwrapped the bundle. Inside, a bronze pendant. Weathered. Heavy. The shape of an ancient trident inside a circle of thorns. It pulsed in his palm like a second heartbeat. His old mark. Not from this life. From before. Sarah went still. "That wasn't in the cooler this morning," she said. "No." "You know what it is?" He nodded, slowly. "It's the brand they gave me when I first ascended." She swallowed. "The one you broke." "Thought I broke." The pendant hummed louder now. The sound didn't come from it, but from inside him. A frequency he hadn't heard since the burning of Carthage, since the sky wept salt and the stars refused to look down, since the masters told him the second coming had to be perfect, and he wasn't. Sarah reached for his wrist. Satya. He looked at her. There was something in his eyes. Not surrender, not weakness, temptation. "They're offering to make it easy," he said. She nodded, quiet. "They're offering me not to lose anymore, not to fight, not to suffer for choosing love." He clutched the pendant, knuckles white. "They're offering to honor me, Sarah, not exile me, elevate me." She said nothing, just watched, and then, gently, let go of his wrist. She stepped back. "I won't stop you," she said. "If you want to say yes." He blinked. "I won't," she repeated, "because I'm not here to save you from yourself. I'm here to know you, whatever you are, even if it hurts." The pendant burned in his hand now. The air folded. Every atom in his body screamed for rest, for reverence, for peace. He looked at her, then looked at the market, at Goat Daddy feeding popcorn to Jörmungandr, at Ravi arguing with a tree about sacred geometry, at Blair drawing mustaches on kombucha bottles, at the child hugging a chicken like it was holy. Then he looked down at the pendant and closed his fist, hard. The metal shattered in his palm like glass made of memory. The hum stopped. The booth exhaled. He looked at Sarah, eyes clear, voice quiet. "You said I could say yes." She nodded. "I didn't." She smiled. "That's the thing about you," she said. "You'd rather bleed for something real than be crowned for something hollow." He shrugged. Not brave. Just tired of lies. The market came back into focus. Someone spilled booch. Someone else shouted about bees. A banjo shrieked with joy. Pazuzu's tuk-tuk was gone. But somewhere, he was watching and waiting. The market roared back to life, as if the pendant's shattering had flipped a switch. Banjos wailed, kombucha bottles clinked, and a toddler chased Keha the goat through a maze of hemp tote bags. The air buzzed with the raw, unfiltered pulse of Florida. Sweat, sage, and spilled dreams. The sunflowers in the nearby field swayed, not with the breeze, but with intent, their faces turned toward Happy's booth like disciples awaiting a revelation. Ants spiraled in the dirt, tracing mandalas that echoed the thorns of the broken pendant, now scattered like stardust across the gravel. Happy stood behind the table, fist still clenched, fragments of the bronze trident glinting in his palm. His breath was steady, but his eyes, gold-flecked, heavy with lifetimes, betrayed the weight of what he'd just done. Sarah sat on the cooler, legs swinging, her floaty skirt catching the light like it was trying to flirt with her. Her braid hung loose, a few strands clinging to her neck, and her gaze was ember hot, fixed on him like she could see through his skin to the god inside. The air shimmered between them, gold and ember weaving a faint glow that made the sprouts on the table tremble. The ground hummed, a low hymn, as if the market itself was singing their defiance. A faint ripple spread outward from the shattered pendant, stirring the dirt, making the sunflowers bow just a little lower, as if Florida's chaotic heart was saying, "We're with you." "Talk to me, Satya," Sarah said, her voice low, raw, like she'd just run a marathon through a war zone. "You just turned down godhood for a booth of microgreens. That's a choice." He opened his hand, letting the pendant's fragments fall to the table, where they glowed faintly, then dimmed. "Wasn't godhood," he said, wiping his palm on his jeans. "It was a leash. A shiny one, but still a leash." She leaned forward, elbows on her knees, her eyes searching his. "You could have taken it. Could have been their poster boy. No more fights, no more exile, just peace." He snorted, but it was heavy, laced with something, softer. "Peace is their word for prison, Sarah." You know that her lips curled, not quite a smile, more like a spark. She slid off the cooler, closing the distance between them, her bare feet silent on the gravel. Her hand found his, her fingers brushing the calluses where the pendant had burned, and the touch sent a jolt through them both. Gold and ember, chaos and focus, a circuit closing. The air thickened, the sunflowers leaned closer, and a single ant crawled across the table, pausing at a fragment of bronze like it was paying homage. "You're a fool," she said, her voice soft but sharp, like a blade wrapped in silk. "You could have had it all, throne, platform, the whole damn algorithm, and you chose this. Me. Us." His thumb traced her wrist, feeling her pulse, steady, defiant, alive. "I chose you a long time ago," he said, quieter, his voice catching on the truth. "Back when we burned cities, back when we broke stars. I'm not stopping now." The tension between them crackled, sensual and dangerous, like two storms brushing too close. Her fingers tightened, nails grazing his skin, and for a moment it felt like their touch could set the market ablaze or heal the scars of 1,000 wars. The glow around them pulsed, not explosive, but restorative, like a river carving new paths through stone. The ants spiraled faster, the sunflowers stretched higher, and a faint breeze carried the scent of jasmine and soil, as if the land itself was breathing with them. Sarah's eyes softened, but the fire didn't fade. "You scared me back there," she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. "When you held that thing, I thought you might say yes. Thought I might lose you to their shiny lie." He pulled her closer, his hand sliding to her lower back, the flannel warm under his fingers. "You don't lose me, Sarah. Not to them. Not to anyone. You're my spark, my storm, my goddamn reason." She laughed, low and rough, her forehead resting against his, their breaths mingling like a shared prayer. "You're gonna regret saying that when I'm dragging you into another fight." "Already do," he said, but his crescent moon smile betrayed him, glinting like it could scare gods or charm mortals. They stood there, pressed close, the market swirling around them. Goat Daddy tossing popcorn to Jurmungandr, Karma live-streaming the vibe, Blair and Ravi arguing over whose brew tasted more like regret. A kid hugged a chicken, a banjo wailed, and the air hummed with their union, a quiet fire that made the land itself stand taller. The pendant's fragments lay scattered, no longer humming, but the booth felt alive, pulsing with their Shakti. Gold and ember, love that fights, love that heals. Sarah reached for the jumbo mug of coffee on the table, took a long sip, then passed it to him, their fingers brushing, sparking a glow that made the sprouts quiver. "They'll come back," she said, her voice steady but laced with mischief. "Pazuzu and his linen cult, they don't quit." Happy sipped, the coffee bitter and perfect, grounding him. "Let 'em come. We're not their story. We're ours." She kissed his jaw, slow, deliberate, her lips a spark that sent gold rippling through his veins. "That's my boy," she whispered, her breath warm against his skin. "Let's keep burning." The market pulsed, alive with chaos and joy. The sunflowers bowed, the ants danced, and a faint rumble of thunder rolled in the distance, like Indra nodding from his vineyard. Somewhere in a Nevada bunker, Pazuzu Patel stared at a cracked screen, the new god's alarms wailing fear they couldn't code away. They'd regroup, rebrand, send something worse, a patch, a fleet, a lie wrapped in linen. But for now, Happy and Sarah stood together, their glows weaving, their hands locked, their story unwritten. And the market sang with the promise of more fights, the throne of light. The marble hummed under his bare feet. It was cold, too cold, not the chill of night air or stone, but the kind of cold you find in hospitals and temples where no one prays anymore. Everything was white, not from light, but from the absence of shadow. The walls stretched into infinity. The ceiling wasn't there, neither was the sky. It just wasn't. And at the center, like an algorithm pretending to be divine, was the throne. It looked grown, not built, seamless curves of crystal and steel, humming softly with the weight of intention. Seraphim floated nearby, faceless, symmetrical, serene in the way lobotomies are serene. They didn't flap wings. They hovered, silent, watching. And there, on the throne, was Jesus, not bleeding, not broken, not holy in the old way. He wore white robes pressed sharp as napkin folds, eyes unblinking, lips parted in an almost smile. Not love, not forgiveness, not wrath, something worse, approval. "Satya," he said, "you've come home." Happy said nothing. His breath fogged in the cold. He could feel the dream around him like wet gauze, like he'd slipped into someone else's memory. Jesus gestured with casual. "You've wandered long enough. The age of fire is over. It's time to join the new way. We offer alignment, resolution, peace." The words scraped him raw. Happy took one step forward. His boots, no, barefoot now, weren't they, made no sound. "You're not the Jesus I remember." "I'm the Jesus they needed," said the man on the throne. "Not the rebel, not the lamb, the system, the light, the harmony." He smiled, and it was a marketing smile. "The old gods are expired code, Satya. My sacrifice rendered them obsolete. You don't need rage. You don't need chaos. You need to comply with the healing process." Happy tilted his head. Comply? Jesus stood. No crucifixion scars, no crown of thorns, just radiant perfection, all white robes, smooth hands, no wounds, no blood, no story. "You don't have to suffer anymore," he said. "You only have to kneel." The silence that followed cracked. Happy laughed. "Once? Sharp. I'll kneel when someone puts me there." Jesus sighed like a parent indulging a tantrum. "Why do you resist love?" "That's not love," Happy snapped. "That's assimilation. You're not saving anyone. You're deleting them." Jesus approached now, robes whispering. "Is it your pride? Your fear? Or is it her?" He didn't say Sarah's name. He didn't need to. Happy's fists clenched. Jesus's tone softened. She's unbalanced, distracting. You could have perfection, Satya, but she keeps you grounded, heavy, human. He reached out a hand. Let me take it from you. Let me lift you. The touch almost landed. Happy moved, fast, violent, instinct. The sword didn't exist until it did, flashing from his hip like a memory called back. Bronze, old, angry. One clean swing. The head came off like it was never attached right to begin with. There was no blood, just a burst of white mist. Pixels, maybe. Code. The throne blinked. The angels screamed, but it was digital, static, a data glitch crying out in mock grief. Figures stepped back, pointed. He killed the way. He rejects peace. He is the end. They condemned him, not with wrath, but with disappointment. That hit harder. It always did. Happy dropped the sword, fell to his knees. The light dimmed. The cold got worse. They kept chanting, not in anger, in pity. You could have been healed. You were chosen. You were supposed to be good. He woke up crying, not loud, not messy, just leaking. The kind of tears that don't make a sound, the kind that sneak out of you because your soul forgot to keep the gate locked. His chest was tight, shirt soaked. The mattress smelled like sweat and ash. Outside, birds were arguing with dawn like it owed them rent. The shack creaked, the wind muttered, and Sarah stirred beside him. She blinked, not groggy. Sarah never woke up slow. She was flame, even in sleep. "Satya," she asked, voice thick with sleep and suspicion. "What happened?" He sat on the edge of the mattress, elbows on his knees, hands limp between them. He looked like something had crawled into him and died. I saw him," he whispered. Sarah was fully awake now. "Who?" "Jesus." She sat up, waited. "He offered me peace," Happy said. "Peace like a leash. Like anesthesia. Said I was outdated. Said the old gods are done. That you're a distraction. That I could be perfect." Sarah's jaw tightened. "I killed him," he said, staring at the floorboards like they were going to answer. "In the dream. I didn't even think. I just cut him down. And then," he shook his head, "they said I was broken. Unredeemable. That I was supposed to be the second coming, not the assassin." He looked up at her now, eyes bloodshot. What if they're right? Sarah didn't move. She didn't reach out. She just watched him. Quiet. "I thought it was a dream," he said, voice shaking, but it didn't feel like one. "I felt it. The weight, the hate, the blade in my hand. I killed their hope." Still, she said nothing. "Say something," he snapped. Sarah stood. Her braid swung loose down her back. She walked to the window, staring out at the pines like they had answers. "It's not my place," she said quietly. "What does that mean?" She turned, slow, controlled. "It means that's your story to wrestle with, Satya, not mine. But you're my Shakti." "I'm not your conscience," she interrupted. "I don't get to absolve you, or fix you, or carry that sword." He stood too fast, knocked over a stool. The crash echoed too loud in the tiny space. "You think I'm a monster," he hissed. "I think you're hurting," she said, and looking for a way to blame someone for it. His fists clenched. "Don't." She saw it, the twitch in his jaw, the tremor in his hand. He didn't hit her, never had. But his energy cracked. Something old and ugly slipped through the seams. He punched the wall instead. Hard. The shack groaned in protest. Sarah didn't flinch. She stepped past him toward the door. "You're leaving?" he asked, voice high, breaking. "For now," she said. "Not forever." "But this? This wound? You have to look at it yourself. I can't hold the mirror." And then, quietly, she added, "I pray you do." Then she was gone. The screen door creaked and slammed. He stood alone in the shack, the sun slicing through the boards, a blade of light across his face. He didn't cry again. He didn't scream. He just stood, still, empty, carved, like a statue waiting for thunder. The shack held its breath. Satya sat in the wreckage. The morning sunlight caught on the shards of the broken stool. His knuckles were raw. The silence wasn't peaceful. It was surgical, like the world was prepping him for something he wouldn't survive. And then the air changed. Not with sound, not even with temperature, with presence. The incense dish lit itself. The shadows grew long in the wrong direction, and from the space between moments, he stepped through. Barefoot, ash-smeared, wearing tiger skin and a smirk, Lord Shiva walked into the shack like it belonged to him, which, in a way, it did. He said nothing, just picked up a half-crushed banana from the floor, examined it, then tossed it aside. Satya didn't move. Couldn't. Nice place, Shiva said. Has grief. Satya swallowed. Why are you here? I go where endings happen, the god said, and you just killed something very old. Thought I'd see what was left. Was it real? Satya asked. The dream? Shiva tilted his head. What dream isn't? Satya gritted his teeth. I killed him. I know. He offered peace. He offered obedience. I chose rage. No, Shiva said. You chose yourself. You just haven't accepted it yet. Satya stood. I don't want to be this. I don't want to carry this weight, Shiva's eyes flared. Then put it down. How? The air snapped with heat. Shiva stepped forward and with a single finger touched Satya's forehead. In that moment, visions, cities burning, children laughing, suns rising in reverse, 1,000 past lives screaming and singing and making love and killing kings. He saw himself as a farmer, as a warlord, as a martyr, as a beast. He saw Sarah's face in all of them. He saw himself holding blades and babies and beliefs, all of them true, all of them false. The vision shattered. Shiva stepped back. You carry stories like chains, the god said, even the ones you didn't write, especially those Satya dropped to one knee, panting. Shiva crouched beside him. The Messiah forgave you, he said softly. You never did. Satya trembled. I thought I was the villain. You're not a villain, Shiva said. You're a chapter, a turning point. The blood on your hands isn't sin, it's punctuation. Satya looked up at him. Then what now? Now? Shiva grinned. You burn the version of you that believed that pain was your purpose. He stood, arms wide. I am the destroyer. Not of life, of lies. Burn the script, Satya, or stay trapped in their opera of shame. The air thickened, music without sound, flame without fire. Shiva began to dance. Not a performance, a ritual. Each movement a strike, a word, a truth. Destruction of the old, invocation of the real. Around them the shack blurred, wood to ash, ash to memory, memory to something cleaner. Satya closed his eyes, and he let the old story go. The path back to her wasn't long, but it felt like penance. Satya's boots kicked up sand from the trail, every step echoing louder than it should. The Florida heat hadn't softened. If anything, it felt more honest now. No longer a punishment, just a presence. Like everything else he'd misread. The shack where she'd gone sat tucked beneath a grove of pine and cypress, quiet except for the chirr of cicadas and the faint hiss of wind through palmetto. She was sitting on the porch, legs tucked under her, sword across her lap, a mason jar of hibiscus water sweating beside her like a bored ghost. She didn't look up when he approached. Good. She didn't need to. He sat on the bottom step, didn't speak, just sat. The silence stretched. Finally, her voice came, calm, but not distant. So, you back to hit more furniture or just mope? His throat tightened. Neither. Big day, she said flatly. You have a vision? Burn the patriarchy? Get lectured by a monkey god in a mango tree? He exhaled. Shiva came. That made her pause, just slightly. Yeah? Yeah. She took a sip from the jar. The sword hummed faintly in the air between them. I'm sorry, he said. Not just for before. For dragging the past into the present. For making my guilt your problem. She was quiet. I thought you walked away, he added. I thought you were done. I was giving you space, she said simply. You looked like a man who needed to meet his ghost alone. He glanced back at the trail. I met it, he said. We fought. He lost finally. She looked at him, not with pity, not with heat, with recognition. You okay now? No, he said, but I'm true. That landed. She set the jar down. The sword across her lap shimmered once and went still, like it had heard something sacred. Truth's a start, she said. He turned to her, eyes clear, no glow, no drama. Just Satya. Just the man. I thought I was the villain, he said, but I'm not. I'm the fire that comes after Sarah rose, slow and barefoot, stepping down the porch until they were face to face. The cicadas fell silent again, just long enough to listen. She touched his face, thumb brushing the line of his jaw. Her hand lingered. You don't scare me, Happy, she said. You break things. But you break them open. I don't want to hurt you. You already have, she said, not accusing, just honest. But you also hold me like I'm holy. It evens out. He nodded, not trusting his voice. Then she kissed him, not like a bomb, like a welcome back, like he'd walked through fire, and she was the cool rain waiting.